And now, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
And yes, here we are again, another day committed to being your consumer advocate, all about helping you understand your buying decisions, making you more street smart here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Thanks for spending some time with us here on the program. We love to help you win in any marketplace. And when we talk about any marketplace, we're talking about, 80 different categories of consumer advocate content and advice right here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. We bring on and interview all types of great local business owners, attorneys, CPAs, financial advisors, tech experts, student loan, credit experts, and more here on the show. Save our hotline number. At some point, you may need it. 813-917-1894.
You used to call me on my cell phone.
You can call or text that line. It's an off-air number, 813-917-1894. ConsumerQB.com is our website. You can see links there to all of our expert contributors, the finest folks in all of Tampa Bay and the Gulf Coast region that we've assembled, we've vetted, and we bring them on as a great contribution to help you save time and money when it comes to your buying decisions here in Tampa Bay. We got a great lineup for you today. Tech expert Nate Ginter on the program, Chief Technology Officer with Vine IT. He's going to talk about the Ukraine war and how New York City's on ultra-high alert amid increase of Russian retaliatory cyber attacks. Interesting stuff coming up from Nate, our tech expert. And we got attorney Millicent Athanason joining us as well. Law offices of Millicent Athanason. Family law is going to be the topic today. Going to talk about holiday visitation when dealing with divorces. On the program. And we like to feature our real estate listings. We help our sellers profit more and sell faster, utilizing our innovation with radio, TV, and internet marketing. And as you know, I'm a top 1% ranked real estate team here in Tampa Bay. Out of 25,000 realtors, we're in the top 1%. Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment Division, Luxury Division, and Commercial Division as well. And we like to feature our listings. So we got a hot property here at 4823 Ebbtide Lane, number 405. You got a penthouse available right here on the 4th floor overlooking the beautiful Gulf of Mexico. Check out that balcony view, 30 by 25 feet view balcony. You've got a 1-bedroom, 2-bath property, easily converted back to a 2-bedroom penthouse here, 1,100 square feet. 270-degree views from your 3 different balconies as well. You got a balcony off the master bedroom, the living room, and the other bedroom as well. Cody River right here in Tampa Bay. Brand new flooring, fresh paint, covered parking, pool, elevator. You got a marina next door. So many upgrades to list. 4823 Ebbtide Lane, number 405. Got a penthouse for sale. And you can see all of our real estate listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
This is God's country.
And let's give a shout out to our friends over at Veteran Gutters. Brandon Porter and his team, they do a great job at Veteran Gutters. Let him know the real estate quarterback sent you when you call. American-made product. He is a veteran, served our great country. Veteran Gutters, Brandon Porter and his team do a great job with all of our real estate properties. Make sure you let him know the real estate quarterback sent you. All right, let's go to the phone lines here. We got attorney Millie Athanason, law offices of Millicent Athanason, back on the program. Hey, Millie.
Hey there, Brandon. How's everything going today?
Oh, wonderful. Just blessed and highly favored, and real excited about our topic today. Interesting family law. A lot of questions people have, a lot of misnomers in that space.
Absolutely. I thought we would talk today a little bit about holiday visits, just simply because spring break is coming up. And a lot of confusion sometimes occurs. And I know that this is a period of time, along with the Christmas holiday, where I get a lot of phone calls about people having difficulties with determining where the children are going to go during the spring break period. So I thought that might be a nice topic to touch on.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah, so a lot of times when people are getting divorced, or if they're filing a paternity action for people that were not ever married, typically when we resolve that case, the parties have to have what's called a parenting plan. And in that parenting plan, it sets forth in writing, and it's approved by the judge, how the parties are going to split up not only their regular visitation, whether it's every other weekend or however they're going to do it, but it also is to address holiday visits and summer visits. Because both holiday visits and summer visits are what we call extended or non-regular visits, because the children have an extended period of time off from school so they can have time to spend with the parents without any threat of having to do schoolwork and stuff like that. And so if you have a parenting plan, that's great. You can refer to the parenting plan. But understand that the law in Florida wants parents to be flexible. So what that means in English is that we're going to use the parenting plan as kind of like the floor. So if there's some request for something different than what's in the parenting plan, the parties should try to work together, but if they're unable to reach an agreement, then we go back to the terms of the parenting plan, and that's kind of like the floor of what we're going to use. Now, for those parties out there that are not divorced or haven't filed a paternity action, or they don't have a parenting plan, but they may be separated or living apart, what do? How do you divide it up?
Right.
The most typical way that people do it is to alternate spring break. So what that means is that one year you're going to get the children for spring break, and the next year the other spouse is going to get the children for spring break. And the spring break is typically in Florida. It starts from the time the children get out of school on that Friday for spring break, and it extends through the Sunday prior to the children going back to school. So typically it's about a 10-day period of time. That's the encompassing spring break. Some parents opt to do it just for the spring break of the time off from school itself. In other words, the Monday through Friday, because if they have regular visitation, they don't want to mess up their scheduled weekends if they're on an every other weekend schedule. So it depends on how the spring break is defined by the party. Okay?
Right.
So that, I know it sounds rather convoluted, but people do get very upset because they'll call and say, well, do I get this weekend, or does he get that weekend, or does she get that weekend? Where are the kids supposed to be?
Right.
So that becomes kind of an issue. And I always encourage the parents to be flexible because, let's face it, the kids are not in school. So maybe one parent wants to go away on a vacation or take a cruise with the kids or do something during the spring break. Obviously, if they're doing something fun, isn't that a benefit to the children? And do we want to treat the children like a commodity, or do we want to treat them as small humans? And I think that the better practice, or what's encouraged by the courts, is for the parents to be flexible for the benefit of the minor children. So if one parent wants to do something and it's not technically per the written papers, what they're supposed to be doing, but it's something that can be effectuated, that the other parent should have a little consideration and flexibility and give that parent the option to have a little bit of extra time with the children, maybe making up the time at some other time during the summer or something like that. The idea that the courts want you to understand is that children are not property, they're not chattel, they're people, and you need to treat them accordingly. Believe it or not, children have a high degree of stress when it comes to figuring out, well, where am I going this weekend, and where am I going?
Big time.
Where am I going? Yeah, I mean, Think about it. If you're a kid, you're not in control of these decisions.
Yeah. And if you can, and as parents too, if you can make it into a situation where you're flexible and something does come up, and then you have a scenario where the kids are, maybe they have a certain type of a friend group at one house and the other house is a different friend group. The more that you can play to those different types of, call it like a major event, a big time birthday party that the kid doesn't want to miss or whatever, something along those lines. The more that you can have a relationship with the divorced parent, your former, loved one, your ex-wife or whatever it is, the better you can do for the children. I mean, that's the key, right?
It really is, and that's really where the focus needs to be. And I think you raised a really good point, Brandon, because what you're saying is like, look, the children have interests too that they want to participate in on their time off from school. And I think that's a very well-made point because, like you said, they do have friends. They have parties a birthday party that they want to go to, or, this friend's parents invited them to tag along on a day trip to Disney and they want to go too, or something like that. We want the children to be able to live their lives without fear that one parent's going to be upset. And what happens a lot of times is when the children, let's say, want to go to a birthday party and one parent asks the ex, oh, can little Johnny stay with me this weekend because he wants to go to Susie's birthday party? A lot of times the other parent will say, oh, yeah, that's just a ruse for her to have the children for extra time. And that isn't always the situation. Many times it's just what the request is. And it's a request from, to please the child. The other option too, depending on how far away it is, it may be that the child can attend the birthday party from either parent's house. It depends on how far apart the parents live and what the relationship is between the parent and these friends or the parent's friends. Because you know how it goes. A lot of times when there's a divorce or a breakup, the friends will be friends with one parent, but not necessarily the other parent.
Right.
And who pays that price? Well, the children do a lot of times.
That's right. Well, Millie, let's take a break right there if we can, and then we're going to come back. We got another segment with attorney Millicent Athanason here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Law offices of Millicent Athanason online at athanasonlaw.com. athanasonlaw.com, and we're going to talk more about that. Plus, I've got an interesting story out of Oregon. It's kind of our West Coast neighbors here, but a judge blocks Oregon ban on letters from homeowners. If you've ever been in a competitive bid situation in the real estate industry, you know how that can go. So there's these things called love letters where the buyers will write to the seller a potential letter, and it's meant to evoke emotions and say, hey, my family would love to have this house. Our kids would love to play in that backyard. That swing set is perfect. Find out about what happened with that here. We're going to talk about this judge that blocks Oregon's ban on letters from home buyers on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Dennis Prager here for Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes, owners of the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams. Buying, selling, investing in real estate, their nationwide Keller Williams network makes them the best team to work with. Sellers, have your property featured live on air, creating multiple offers. Buyers, leverage a unique system that gets your offer accepted, never overlooked. Call or text 813-750-0550, 813-750-0550, or consumerqb.com.
Selling commercial or residential property? Don't leave money on the table. List with the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. I'm Brandon Rhymes. Reach me at 813-670-7372 or platinummvpteam.com.
Have you desired more income and more freedom in your life? Now is your time. Keller Williams Realty has just launched our own real estate school, and you can get licensed for free. I'm Brandon Rhymes, host of the Consumer Quarterback Show, owner of the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. And for the first 3 people who reach out, I will personally coach you. 813-917-1894. Call or text 813-917-1894. ConsumerQB.com. ConsumerQB.com.
You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
And we're back. Brandon Rhymes, Consumer Quarterback Show, powered by the Platinum MVP team, Keller Williams Realty. I've got a hot listing here in Dade City. This is 14121 7th Street in Dade City. This is a restaurant. So attention entrepreneurs, restaurateurs out there. This is a great opportunity to own a restaurant in Dade City. You got a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment, so you could have on-site management. 14121 7th Street in Dade City. Established downtown restaurant, 30 years in business. 2 dining rooms. You've got downstairs dining, upstairs banquet, as well as a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. Sale includes the furniture and equipment. Perfect entrepreneurial investment. Plenty of parking as well. And you can see all of our real estate listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
Sun is shining, the weather is sweet.
All right, so we got attorney Millie Athanason here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, law offices of Millicent Athanason. And Millie, I kind of teased this before the break. I want to jump into this, and we'll go back into the family law. You were talking about family law and holiday visitation and parenting plans, and you can help people with different types of law. We'll go over that as well. But this is interesting. So a judge blocks Oregon ban on letters from home buyers, and it's out of Portland, and it says a federal judge last week issued a preliminary injunction blocking Oregon's ban on so-called real estate love letters, nicknamed for personal notes from the prospective home buyers to the home sellers. And in the court district, he says that the law violates First Amendment Constitution by restricting free speech too broadly. And so they reported that, and then the conservative Pacific League filed lawsuit in the district court based on Total Real Estate Group, alleging that forbidding the letters violated first rights. So First Amendment rights, and the letters often right to appeal to the seller to accept potentially less competitive offer, or I don't even know if that's accurate. It's really any offer. Doesn't mean necessarily mean that it's a less competitive offer. There's multiple offers. They're just trying to get their offer accepted, and so the situation is it's a major victory for free speech and economic opportunity. They're saying the Pacific League and the Americans from government overreach and abuse, defends from overreach. And I agree with that. I think hey, people can write letters, they can say what they want to say about the home, and may the best offer win. I mean, that's what capitalism is about. That's what open markets are about, free and open markets. But anyways, Millie, interesting story out of the West Coast there.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And I mean, it does kind of serve what our Constitution does say about free speech. And, we hear this a lot nowadays where there's many offers that come in on a home. And I know a lot of times that families that are getting traditional financing are often competing with cash buyers and investors. And so doesn't that create the bidding war on the homes a lot of times?
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point you brought up, because you have, I just mentioned this in yesterday's show. Now you got these BlackRock, Blackstone, these big corporations getting preferential treatment from the federal government because of their ESG scores. And, it's a bunny trail I could go down, but I won't. But yeah, so they're beating out these veterans, these first-time buyers, people that are financing, trying to get into a home. And, you got these institutional buyers throwing around cash. And it's not, it's the American dream. It could be determined or deciphered in a lot of different ways from different people. Some say it's home ownership. Some say it's the right to own your own business, to write your own future, to write your own check, so to speak. But a lot of that is, I believe, the American dream is that home ownership. So unfortunately, these big institutions sometimes kill that dream for too many veterans and first-time buyers.
Oh, absolutely, and it's about. I mean, it's really up to the seller who they want to sell their home to. They can accept or reject any contract that they want to. So if somebody's able to write to them and appeal to them, and the seller feels that this family is going to be a good fit for the house, why not?
Right, exactly. Yep. So, yeah, government overreach avoided out in Oregon, thank goodness. Well, at least, who knows, maybe it could get appealed, overturned. But let's go back to what you were talking about, Millie. Family law, divorce situations. What are some of the other misnomers, or maybe, pick up where you left off there?
Yeah, absolutely. So my point is that, really let's listen to the children, first of all, as to what's going on in their lives. And that doesn't mean that they dictate what goes on in your home, but it means that you're listening to them and taking their concerns and their desires to spend time with friends into consideration when you're discussing time sharing. The other thing that I want to reiterate, again, is to be flexible in scheduling, even though the paper says, okay, I get this and you get that. Be flexible when it comes to that because of the needs of the children and because maybe parent has extra time off from work and they have time to spend with that child as opposed to the child or children sitting home playing video games or something.
Yeah, because I can guarantee you it's gonna at some point it's gonna flip the other way. You're gonna have a surprise visit from your mother or whoever it is, and you're gonna really want them in town because their cousins are in town. So if you can be, it's kind of like that golden rule, right? Be flexible, listen to the children, and try to get along.
Oh, absolutely. And like you said, treat others the way that you want to be treated. I mean, not only is it a life lesson, but it's something that the way that you're handling it, you're teaching your kids how to handle a conflict
right
when they get older and have relationships of their own. So the way that you model yourself and fashion your own behavior, I think is going to be demonstrated to the children, and that's how they're going to learn to deal and cope with these issues when they get older. So, you need to kind of take that into consideration. But, the main thing is, as I said, to be flexible. As I said, usually most people alternate the spring break, but there's a number of families that just split the spring break down the middle and say, okay, well, I'm going to get the first half that's attached to my regular weekend, and you're going to get the second half that's attached to your weekend. So that's another way to do it. I've seen other families do it in different ways, but I always encourage families to do what works for them because everybody has different ways of celebrating. For example, not every year, but many years, spring break is attached to Easter. And so this year, Easter isn't until next month. But, in many instances it is. So if one family does or has a big religious thing on Good Friday and the other side of the family does Easter Sunday, be flexible with that. Don't become rigid on day counting. I don't think that does anybody any good.
Yeah.
People have a big hesitancy sometimes to compromise because they know that in Florida that child support is determined in part by the number of overnights that each child or each parent has with the child or the children. But understand that the means or the cutoff for a discount in child support is at 20% of the overnight. So that would be roughly about 73 overnights. So my point being is that basically any parent that has a pulse for the most part, is going to get at least 20% of the overnight per year and is going to get some form of a discount on the child support. So I wouldn't be so caught up on to the exact number of overnight. And you giving up one extra day this year or 2 extra days or 3 extra days really isn't going to have any bearing on your overall child support number because we've already established that this is your time. You're just simply being flexible and accommodating the needs of the other parent. Usually the courts are more concerned as to what's going to happen on a routine and steady basis. For example, if there's a parent that has the children every other weekend and doesn't exercise that right of time sharing, that's when there could be a change made to the child support obligation, not so much because you've been flexible on this particular occasion. So I kind of want to...
We're running out of time here. Millie Athanason,
yes.
Law Offices of Millicent Athanason, athanasonlaw.com. How do you want folks to find you?
Yes, so it's 1-833-ASK-MILLIE or 727-376-9100, or go to athanasonlaw.com and follow the prompts, and we can set you up for an appointment.
Excellent. 833-ASK-MILLIE. Millie Athanason, Law Offices of Millicent Athanason here in Tampa Bay. And thanks so much, Millie. We appreciate you.
All right. Thank you for having me. Take care.
My pleasure. All right, coming right back with Nate Ginter, Chief Technology Officer, Vine IT. We're going to talk about Russian retaliatory cyber attacks that could happen. Samsung has a huge cyber attack, and a flying car just got certified as airworthy to fly. We'll be right back.
This is Chris Voss, former FBI lead hostage negotiator and owner of the Black Swan Group, and you're listening to Consumer Quarterback Show hosted by my friend Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com.
People are not talking about what's really happening, and that's a transitioning to this thing called the metaverse. Walk me through our guy Zuckerberg, who we've had in the news about what he did in Wisconsin with the voting with the ballots. You've been following a different aspect of it.
Yeah, the recent interview with Lex Friedman was pretty jarring. It was interesting to see Zuckerberg get so honest about his own philosophical perspective, his ideas on God and the sort of religious conviction behind what he's doing. But one element that really, really struck me was when he was discussing Friedman, who I respect in a lot of ways despite his transhuman orientation ultimately. Friedman is discussing when is the moment when people are basically living in the metaverse, where most of their lives are conducted, their work, their play, their romance, their political lives. When is that moment coming when most people are living in the metaverse? And, Zuckerberg isn't putting a timeline on it, although he does note that already, especially post-COVID, already so many people already live most of their lives via digital media. Everything about their lives is mediated through smartphones, is mediated through, televisions, film. Zoom especially. And so what Zuckerberg and also what Apple, what Microsoft especially, what Google, what they're all working on is creating a 3D immersive environment that basically replaces the experience of the real world with a digital world. It's a world that will be completely, artificial in the sense that everything that you see is no longer the real world, but in most importantly, it's artificial in the sense that most of it will just simply be made up.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
And we're back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment Division, realtor here, luxury division, commercial real estate as well, vacant land, anything you have to sell, we'd love to help you with that. We maximize the exposure as well for you through multiple outlets. Well, we got a hot listing here. This is a $1 million listing of mine at 14626 Loridon Drive in Seminole, Florida. Beautiful property. What you've got here is 2 bedrooms, 3 bath, 1330 square feet, double master layout, waterfront dock home on a peninsula. You're on the edge here, the peninsula. 180-degree views of the intercoastal waterways. Private dock, bring your boat, updated kitchen, updated home here. HOA covers a heated pool, tennis courts, and more. Check out 14626 Loridon Drive, number 14 in Seminole. And you can see all of our real estate listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com. All right, we got our friend Nate Ginter in the house, Chief Technology Officer of Vine IT, vineit.com. And Nate, I got to tell you, one of my favorite interviews on the show. I got to tell you, it's a lot of fun.
You're one of my top 1 favorite interviewers.
There you go. So, good. Okay. All right. So Ukraine war, you got this. This is interesting. So New York City on ultra high alert amid increased risk of Russian retaliatory cyber attack. New York Post.
Yeah. So I actually brought in 2 stories today. We'll get to the second one in a minute, but they're both about potential cyber attacks or cyber attacks. And one of the things that's interesting about this is the first one is if you read through, we've been hearing a lot in the news, with the Ukrainian, Russian, what are they calling it, a military action.
Right.
Obviously, Russia attacking the Ukraine. We're always hearing about Russian hacking and these things, and now, everybody's supposed to be on high alert. One of the things that I try to tell people is, if you're doing things right during a time of increased awareness, you have nothing to worry about. There's basic precautions that you can take for your business. So certainly some of the government infrastructure and things like that, they're more vigilant than usual, but it's not like they're inventing a new technology, the day that Russia says something. It's about doing the best practices and putting them in place on a daily basis.
Yeah. In times of increased exposure, you fall to your greatest level of preparation, right?
Exactly. And the interesting thing about this story, I've read about 10 that are like this. This one happened to be off of the New York Post. There's actually no content in this whatsoever. The guy who's the head of New York City's cybersecurity came out and said, we have seen slight increased activity, but there's no known or significant issues that have arisen. So in all these stories, like, something could happen. Well,
right.
Something can always happen. That's
of
always
course.
a possibility.
Yeah, there's a black swan always out there. Somebody, hey, did somebody fly into the building? Did we see 9/11 happen? No.
Exactly.
Did you see? You can always come up with a black swan, right?
Oh, of course, and it's funny to watch these types of stories come through, because also I think the Russian cyber people have some other concerns currently.
Yeah, there's some stuff going on right now. They just got their oil cut off, so that's something good. So Biden finally acted on that day 12 into this
right.
war.
Well, you don't want to just cut it right off, because then things might end too early, and we need to be a little closer to the election.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
The other thing that always cracks me up about that is I worry more about the Russians when they're not busy.
Yeah.
When they're not doing things, that's when the cyber people really have nothing to do but sit around and attack civilian targets and try and gain entry to things. So of course, they have to throw that caveat out there of, everyone's on high alert. But in reality, for any of the stories that I have read, there has been no significant activity
right.
That's come out of it. So, if you're worried about being hacked by Russia, let's take care of your business. Let's get those best practices in place all year round, so we don't have to wait for some sort of issue like this to scare you.
Right. And by the way, if you just joined us, we're talking with Nate Ginter here, Chief Technology Officer, Vine IT. Another great example of a local area business owner, company in Tampa Bay. You can support the show by support his business and support the show, of course, simultaneously. But you think about these scenarios that play out, whether you're a homeowner, you got so many devices in a home. I mean, the average home probably has 5 or 6 at least devices, laptops, iPad, this pad.
Things that people don't even think about. Your Alexas, I have smart light bulbs in my house, which, by the way, when your internet goes out, they turn very dumb. So you always make sure, just if you got a smart light bulb, just flick it off and flick it on again real quick. That'll turn it on by default. So if you ever find yourself in that scenario.
I remember a story last year that we did too, man. There was a story that hackers went through. It was something to do with the fish tank. So what was that? Remember that
one? There was a temperature monitor in a fish tank at a casino, and they actually hacked that, which was absolutely that's one of my favorite stories of all time.
That's one of the best hacks ever.
No one even thought about the fish tank monitor they were putting in. And I think the casino lost something like $10 million or something of that nature. Cow. It was pretty crazy.
Wow. Do you think that IT guy got fired?
Well, you got a talking to at least.
I think there's Oh, he got a great reset, didn't he?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Nate can help you with your business, your home, and get you set up there. And you've also heard Mike Thackeray on the show, his business partner as well. So I guess move on from that one. We'll go down to Samsung. So you got Samsung face huge cyber attack.
Yes.
You could be next as the street.
So this one is potentially a little bit more worrying than Russia, which is kind of interesting. So Samsung had a cyber attack. So some bad actors got into their network, and so because Samsung makes a lot of different technologies, they've got a lot of different patent information, code from different manufacturers that never sees the light of day. Hopefully, because there's if once you have the code for how everything works, it's a lot easier to engineer security hacks. Well, one of the things that got stolen, NVIDIA, you may have heard of them, huge tech stock performer over the last 10 years. They make all the video game hardware for everything from Xboxes to, the most popular manufacturer of computer gaming cards for esports.
Oh, okay.
Well, their code actually got stolen, and what was in there was actually what they call code signing certificates. Without getting too nerdy, whenever you download something from the internet, let's say you download a Microsoft update, there's a little piece of code in there that's a certificate that says, hey, I'm safe code. You can install me without worrying about it, and it bypasses antivirus processes and all these things. So they got a hold of that. And if you've bought a computer in the last 10 years, there's probably a 40 to 50% chance you've got an NVIDIA card in your laptop. So what I tell people is don't panic. If you're, doing a driver update, which sometimes, we all get prompted for updates and things, go through the official Windows update channel or go to NVIDIA.com. Get them from there. There shouldn't be anything that pops up on a website that says, hey, come here and get the newest NVIDIA drivers and those things. Do not do anything like that. That's the delivery method they use. They try to get you to go to a different website that's hosted by an unscrupulous company. You should be at NVIDIA.com or just do Windows updates to push those through, and you don't have to worry about anything.
Okay, because you got to be careful about clicking links,
right?
Spam, phishing, and possible identity theft.
It's very hard for even experienced hackers to attack you from the outside. They usually need your help to do anything extremely malicious, and most of the time it's through offering help or offering something free. I always say nothing's free. Nobody wants to help you.
Yeah. Exactly.
And go for specifically what you're looking for.
Yeah, be careful. All right, so Nate, next one up. A flying car just got certified as airworthy to fly. Good News Network.
Yeah, so I always like to bring in a fun piece of technology news because, you're this gloom and doom and, oh no, your video card might strangle you. So I wanted to make sure we always have something fun. So there is a smart car that actually, just like, we would always imagine from an old sci-fi show, has wings that fold up and into it.
Yeah.
Has actually been approved. Now, it was approved in Slovakia, so they've got some work to do in America. But they logged over 700 hours of test flights.
Wow.
They did a 35-minute test flight 200 times back and forth without any issues.
Wow.
So this car literally can take off. It needs a very short runway. It's only a couple, I believe it's about 1,000 feet or so, which is not much. and it's able to accelerate quickly. I believe the engine is a hybrid electric and some sort of combustion fuel
88
currently.
gigawatts or something like that.
Yeah, well, yes, I'll have to check with Doc Brown on that, but I know you don't fuel it with garbage. I know that.
There you go.
But long story short, this thing, you can actually fly through the air. Short hops,
Wow,
that is not
that's
long
pretty cool,
distance.
man.
But it lands and then literally folds up, and you can drive away. Wild stuff.
That is amazing. The future is here, isn't it?
Absolutely. Might make that little hop across Tampa Bay a little quicker someday.
Especially, traffic going out to Clearwater. A lot of people live on Clearwater Beach, and they're like, man, I love living on the beach, but I hate driving in that traffic.
Well, the dream is if there's an accident on Howard Franklin, you just hit a button and just head upwards.
So this one, you do need a runway.
Yeah. You do. It's not what they call a jump jet, like the Harriers the Navy uses, where they're on an aircraft carrier, they just take off vertically.
Wow.
That's very hard to do, and takes to do a vertical takeoff actually takes an incredible amount of fuel and pressure.
A lot of energy, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, so that's pretty cool, man. So the car got certified to fly, and you said that was overseas?
It was in Slovakia. But it's actually called the Air Car. They're really hiding the lead there, and it's by a company called Klein Vision. So
Wow.
they actually, it's not a prototype; it literally works, and they're planning on preparing to mass produce them, which will be interesting. Who knows what the price tag will be, but
yeah, that'll be interesting. It's also cool to see those cars that you just drive right into the water and they turn into a boat. I mean, those are pretty freaking cool too, man.
Those, yeah, and there was the one way they used to do them with like the little scoop that came out the back, and there was another one that didn't even need it, which were wild, from the 50s. You wonder why some of that stuff, I understand mass production and all those things, but boy, there's got to be some rich people that would just love to have something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a ferry service you can
That'd
take.
be super cool. Absolutely. We're talking with Nate Ginter here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, Chief Technology Officer at Vine IT. Check him out online, vineit.com. And if you want an introduction as well, you can call or text 813-917-1894. That's the Consumer Advocate Hotline, 813-917-1894. And we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got another segment with Nate Ginter here on the show. We're going to talk maybe about some AI. We'll probably talk a little bit about metaverse and what's going on there, and Zuckerberg a little bit, transhumanism. And
tear myself away from it.
We'll see. All right, we'll take a quick break when we come back right here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
This is Warwick Dunn, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show, hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com.
Ian Beckles here with my man Brandon Rhymes, a.k.a. the Real Estate Quarterback. Brandon, what's happening with the market?
Thanks, Ian. We are in a low inventory market, so any of our listeners are homeowners and would like a free comparable market analysis or a 2.5% listing, we will honor this for the first 3 listeners who call or text in
813-917-1894.
Free CMA and a 2.5% real estate listing. Check out consumerqb.com.
My name is James DeJerome, and I produce the Consumer Quarterback Show for Brandon Rhymes. The Consumer Quarterback Show is a team, a group of like-minded professionals who partner together to provide our audience sound advice, knowledge, and information to make them wiser consumers. We work with all types of business owners and aggressively promote our local economy. We're currently conducting interviews for our expert contributors. If you own a business or know someone who would benefit from the exposure our show provides, please contact us at 813-750-0550 or online at consumerqb.com.
You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here, your host of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Also a top 1% ranked real estate team here in Tampa Bay. Out of 25,000 realtors, we rank in the top 1%. We like to feature our real estate listings live on air as well to help our sellers profit more and sell faster, utilizing our innovation with radio, TV, and internet marketing. 12631 Hobson Simmons Road. This is an opportunity to build and develop. So attention builders, developers, one of our for vacant land listings, commercial type listings. 12631 Hobson Simmons Road. We've got this property out in Lithia, Florida. Great opportunity to own real estate and develop. 12 acres. You got water, sewer, power, cable available. Prime opportunity to build, and you can build country estates here in Tampa Bay. Owners willing to now break it down into 5-acre, even 1-acre parcels. You can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
This is God's country.
All right, we got Nate Ginter in the house, Chief Technology Officer at VineIT.com. Check him out online, VineIT.com. So we got a couple different topics we can go here. I'm going to give you a multiple choice. You can pick
Go for it.
AI, transhumanism, metaverse, or crypto. Which one do you want to go for?
Let's start with metaverse.
Metaverse,
I'll take
okay.
metaverse for 200, Brandon.
Metaverse for 200. Here we go. So metaverse, it's interesting. You know, people are saying, "Hey, Brandon, you should start a real estate office in the metaverse." I got friends in the car business saying they're actually looking into that. Well, what's your take on metaverse?
So metaverse, and for those who are uninitiated, it's basically the concept that we've been hearing since I was a little kid of VR, where you put the goggles on and you're in this immersive world.
Yep.
And it's certainly come a long way. There was when I was a kid, I went to Epcot Center in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And they had a demo of like an Aladdin game where you kind of put it on and it took you through a thing. Now that was very, very crude, at the time. But we still haven't hit, we were just talking about this earlier, where, you have these, football games like, Madden 22, where it half looks like you're on the field,
right,
while you're playing. This is a lot more crude and a lot more rudimentary than that. It's a lot more like, kind of the old, when they had the Nintendo Wii, where you had the kind of bobblehead figures, and they were there, and you're moving around, but you would never be convinced that you were, actually standing in a tennis stadium or something of that nature. So it's a little bit more, kind of in between the two there. And where the metaverse concept is going, because right now when you log in, it's kind of like you're looking at it's still a screen, that you're looking at through these lenses, and when you can look around for sure, but you're still looking at kind of a static storefront. I almost think if you're looking like your Windows or your Mac interface, and you can just kind of turn your head around it, and you pick something, and then it pulls some things up. Still very cool. But we're a long ways away from that being immersive to the point where you would confuse it for reality or anything. But where there's cool things with that, that are potential. So they already have like virtual tours of things like museums and things where you can go. Now, you'd much rather be staring at an actual Rembrandt than, sort of a little grainier, pixelized version. But it does give you the ability to do that and, kind of tour some different areas. A lot of parks and things like that, worldwide have put some content on there to look at. But the actual, creating, there has yet to actually be a Metaverse app. It hasn't even been created yet from Facebook. So they're spending billions in development on it, much to the chagrin of some of the investors out there.
Yeah.
But Mark Zuckerberg he's definitely a futurist. He's a what I would call, some people call it transhumanism, because he thinks, he's a code guy. He always thinks in code. He's been a nerd his whole life.
Right.
He spends the majority of it in front of a computer or dealing with digital life. I think that sometimes people like that can have an outsized view of how much the average person is digitally involved.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I get it. Yeah, because they're more immersed in it, and that's their deal. It's not like the opposite of that would be the outdoorsman that doesn't do a thing on a computer device. He's an old school outdoorsman, fisherman, hunter.
My dad had a flip phone until like 3 years ago when I got him a tablet, and he absolutely loves it. But he still uses it for, I get my news on there, so rather than reading the paper in the morning, he goes on and gets news, and he watches Netflix.
Yeah.
But you would never confuse him with a technologist. He's still a rugged outdoorsman, and still loves woodworking and those things. And those types of things are not going to go away. The idea or the fear that's being sold from some of the people who are, what are they going to do? It may be that, especially something like a car dealership, how cool would it be if you didn't have to go to the dealership, if you could actually go and they scan the car in and you can kind of get a look at it. And, if there's a major dent in the side or something, maybe it calls your attention to it or, something of that nature. But they're always still going to have to sell the car.
Right.
Well, why would you need a car if you're in the metaverse, man?
Right,
You just
exactly.
hop on your magic portal and go wherever. Well, no, because you're still a real person, and you're going to need to get from place to place when you're, going to work or, doing what else you need to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. I listen to a lot of these different podcasts, Bannon's War Room and this, but the transhumanism is one that gets a little bit scary because they're actually doing this in some countries. They're putting in chips. They're putting in, and their goal is to literally, they have it. So it gets into the religious sphere here, there, right? So some people believe in God. Some people believe they are God, right? So you get these tech billionaires. They're like, oh wow, we're above. We're not the average person. We've got billions in the bank. So it gets into that whole thing where people like me, they think that we have a belief that there is a God and I'm not him, right? But these other people do.
Well, there's been an issue with the ruling class, mixing with religion for a very long time, and technology is something that is an addition to that. But I think it's very much a parallel and entwined concept. But when it comes to transhumanism, I very much look at things as tools. So if you wear a wristband, a Fitbit or something like that, it's pulling information to tell you about yourself,
Right.
and as somebody who believes that you were created by God, why not do the most you can with that? If there's some numbers that can make you a more effective human being, and maybe enhance your God-given abilities a little bit more to do what you were here to do on this earth in an even better way, why not do that? So as long as you're using them as tools and not as a replacement, I think that's definitely. I think it can be a very positive.
That's where you go, though. I think that's where the next step is. It's transhumanism 2.0, human being 2.0. So in other words, if they're doing it in California and we're not doing it in small town Tampa Bay or Florida here, then they're going to have a competitive advantage and they're going to make the money. We're going to lose the client, etc.
So there may be some of that, but if you also look at just what diet does, so just even I always say you can't just look at the shiny whirring objects and say that's technology. I look at protein powder as a technology. The all these things, so they're all there. We've all been using them for a long time. I think that there is we're very, very far away. If it will ever even be truly possible for say taking yourself and put yourself in some sort of cyborg or something of that nature, that's that requires such a far technological leap, despite what everybody says. I don't say everybody, despite what a lot of the I will say pie in the sky technology enthusiasts will tell you. No, you're not putting your brain in a robot or a computer anytime soon. Our brains are so much more powerful than even the most powerful quantum computers that they have today.
Right.
And will be there's also just a natural. I always think of things as sort of the sum of greater than the sum of their parts when it comes to the human organism.
Right.
And our lightning fast ability to move from one modality to the next, sure. That thing might be able to beat me at chess, but I can go pull its plug out, and it's not going to be able to plug itself back in.
Yeah, there you go.
So I win the next game.
Yeah, there you go. You can win the next game. That's right. We're talking with Nate Ginter here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, Chief Technology Officer, VineIT.com, VineIT.com. Yeah, I kind of go back to I remember watching the Elon Musk interview with Rogan, and he was talking about AI, and he was literally like concerned with it. He was scared that the government is not putting things in place.
So with AI, I think there are some legitimate concerns about building what I consider to be AI is a self-learning and self-adapting piece of code.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that is something that can be very dangerous. I don't know. It's much like people when they were doing research on nuclear technology and everybody was racing for the bomb. There's no real way to stop people from doing research. I mean, Oppenheimer, sure, he moved a lot faster because he had 100 people on staff and an unlimited budget. But he was just a guy. It wasn't like, it took the whole United States military to manufacture that weapon. It took, basically 100 researchers. So, there's going to be a kid that invents something. The concern is that, that if there is some sort of grand, again, it's a lot like, I always go back to, we still don't know a lot of what happens at the bottom of the ocean, because it's so hard to research down there.
Yeah.
We are further away from a lot of things. We know more about what happens on the moon than we do what happens on the surface of our very planet.
Yeah.
So there's things that, when you hear somebody like Elon Musk, again, he's in his head all day long, thinking about these things, and he's inventing, like a sci-fi writer, the worst case scenario. By the way, we're now well past the date that Skynet was supposed to take over in the Terminator movie from the 80s.
Good.
So we still don't have self-driving cars, let alone robots that are capable of a military invasion.
Yeah, like iRobot too with that Will Smith. Yeah,
absolutely,
exactly.
Not a bad one.
All right, good stuff, Nate. Thanks for coming in. Reach out to Nate. Find him online, VineIT.com. Another great show. I want to thank Millie Athanason, attorney Millie Athanason, on the show. And we want you to please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. Do something kind for one another. Be a force for good in the community. We'll see you next time right here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, ConsumerQB.com.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play. Call Brandon Rhymes at 813-917-1894. That's 813-917-1894. Online at ConsumerQB.com. And join us next time for the Consumer Quarterback Show.